So here's my John Deere R4038. It's a crop sprayer. Technically it's a tractor. That tractor there has a spray unit attached. Then actually all this can be taken off and you can put on like a fertilizer or dry chemical applicator that spreads rather than sprays. Most people though have this type of configuration with just a sprayer. Like I said, it's 120 feet wide when she's fully extended, and it has 132 of these sprayer nozzle. You've got different colors here. It can rotate in clicks so that you can change the tip depending on the amount gallons per acre applied and the speed you need to go. Some tips also spray different patterns. Some are for different type of chemical. So they're color coded, so then that way you can make sure each one of them has the right tip. On the very end here, you see this guy here. This is part of a foaming unit. We don't use these anymore, but before GPS, you had this special system with a special solution up there, and what it would do is on the end of the row, so you would know where the end of your spray line is, you could drop a big clump of foam, colored foam on the ends, and then when you turned around, you would know where the edge of your spray pattern is, because unlike digging, you can't see where you sprayed. On the ends here too, we've got these 10-foot sections. These are aluminum on the end, whereas the rest are steel. And let's see if I can do it here. As you can see, they bend. They've got a spring there, so that way if you hit something like a power pole or a fence post, it'll give instead of breaking the boom. It folds up in different sections here. There's a fold there, fold there, and then there's one great big fold on the end of this section here. So when we go to fold it up at the end, I'll show you that. That's how this thing kind of folds up and then folds in. Each one of these sections you can kind of see them here. Like there's a piece here, and then on each boom piece we have these guys here. This is a flow gate, so that opens and closes a valve in here that will then either let chemical through or close it off. And that is all controlled by a computer up in the cab that allows me to go over other areas that I've sprayed, and it will turn off the nozzles if I'm swinging that part of the boom over that area. It's really handy, and it keeps us from putting too much chemical on one area. You don't want to over apply, because it can also cost a lot of money, and it can really damage the crops. On the back here, we of course have our main plumbing. It comes out of the tank here into this distribution. This is the main shutoffs. Filters here, 1, 2, and 3, left side, right side, and this little filter for this little centerpiece. There's these great big shock absorbers in here, so as you're going and it tilts like this, it doesn't slam them down into the ground, because a couple inch movement on this side can mean a lot of movement on the end. And that actually goes to one of the really cool features that I'll show you here. Gotta walk around the sprayer. It's really long. It's these guys here. We have these radar units. There's 3 of them on each wing. And these are just like what's in a police car. They detect how much distance. And so instead of detecting speed like a police car does, this one detects distance to the ground, or I can have it detect the distance to the canopy, the leafy part of the top of the plant, if it's during the time of the season when we have plants up. And so what this does is all of these sensors, there's one here, And there's another one right here. And then there's one under the middle. Those are constantly feeding information back to the computer in the cab. And that makes sure that as I'm driving and the ground, isn't perfectly flat, it readjusts the height of that wing to make sure that it's as close to my setting as possible, and also to make sure that it doesn't slam down into the ground. And so in that cab, I can tell it how many inches above the ground I want this boom to be. Right now I have it set at 24 inches because there's no crop. So I can go fast, and then there's a little bit of wind, so I want to keep that boom low so the chemical doesn't have a chance to kind of blow away because it's a fine mist. That's a very important feature here. Allows us to go really fast compared to the way it used to be. On our configuration here, we've got dual tires on the back. That's because we have a 1,000-gallon water tank. Behind it there is another, I think it's a 150-gallon clean water tank. That's a rinse tank. That's used by the computer to do a full rinse system. There's spray nozzles in the tank that will spray clean water in the tank, and then it will then eject it out of the boom, and then that way it cleans all the lines so that when we switch chemicals, it's not contaminating. But that's a lot of weight, 8 pounds per gallon roughly. So we need extra tires in the back to make sure that not only doesn't sink down, but doesn't compact the soil too much. On the side of the unit here, we have this, kind of like a kitchen sink of sorts. This picks up and slides down. I can't really do it one-handed, but that can be used to mix chemical in. So it's like I told you, it's a sink that then runs, and it's got a drain on the bottom that then gets sucked up in to put chemical up there. We don't necessarily use that because we mix the chemical in the trailer as we're filling the water tanks. These are side fill units, 3-inch. This is to fill the clean water. So this is to put water into the great big tank. And then here we have access to the computer system to turn on lights, to turn on the pump, to turn on agitation. This actually then, when the pump is on, we can hit this button and it will stir. It has special nozzles, big ones on the bottom of the tank that swirls and mixes, kind of like when you're making something and you got to mix it all together. That's what this does. As well as spraying out the booms. Essentially all the controls for if someone's assisting you filling this, to clean it, to rinse it out, and to fill it, all can be done here. And this little screen kind of gives you an update of the RPMs of the engine and how many gallons of water are actually in the tank. Also, you can just look right here. There's a sight glass that tells you how much liquid is in the tank. This is just a toolbox here. Of course, it's all sealed because we don't want any water or chemical getting inside. We don't really use it because, I don't know, we just don't. All the wheels are driven by hydraulic. There's no drive shaft. So hydraulic fluid is pumped down these lines into a motor. And each one of these wheels has a very powerful motor, and that's what causes, or that's what provides our power to the wheels to make us move forward and backwards. These are my airbag suspension, because we're going fast and we need a lot of suspension, and so those airbags give me a lot of cushion, and then those rods on each side help stabilize. And then up here's the last bit. This is the front fill. This is what we use. This is just another place to fill the water and the chemical that goes into the tank. So that's got a hose that goes back and connects to the main plumbing that allows us to fill the tank. It also allows us to blow air. I open this up and it will then blow air to make sure that that hose gets emptied. Because remember, this is all about making sure that there's no contamination in the lines. Because what you spray on one field might kill what you spray on the next. It's not very common for us, but some guys that use these spray a lot of different crops in a day, and so they need to be able to clean the system out. On this side here, we have our main diesel tank. That's where we fill up with our fuel. And this here is our government juice, our DEF tank. This is some magic juice the government makes us put in the diesel engine that somehow cleans the exhaust that comes out of the tractor. It's supposed to be better for the environment. I won't get too much into that because I think it's a bunch of crap. And it's expensive. So someone's making money off of nothing. On this side here, that's just the main hose in case the tank overflows. It'll just plop it on the ground. Normally when we fill it, if there's a lot of foam from the mixture, the foam ends up kind of just coming out of there, giving it a release. So that kind of sums up the outside of the tractor here. Stay tuned, I'll post another video about how the computers and everything in the cab works. And yeah. Thanks for watching.